Good morning, everyone. Or is it afternoon already? I don't know. The morning has flown past so quickly, hasn't it? I'd like us to consider today what the next 5 years of education is going to look like, and what are our fears around that, but also what are our excitements around continuing to work the best that we can in education. It's such an important time in education at the moment. There's so much change happening, and as educators we're trying to gain that sense of stability when the ground is constantly shifting beneath us. So today I'd like to talk about the future of AI in education, and I want to talk about this fascinating topic that's reshaping our world and transforming the field of education and artificial intelligence. The integration of artificial intelligence and AI in education has brought about numerous advancements and transformations in the learning process. Whilst AI offers possibilities to enhance educational outcomes, it also raises important questions about its impact on student and staff well-being. And I just want you to look at this picture at the moment, and I want you to imagine a classroom where AI is not just the tool, but a partner, and how might this transformative partnership between humans and machines shape the future of learning and student well-being. I was on the tube this morning, and something always happens in my morning just before I talk, and I'm always grateful for that, and it's that light bulb moment. I got on the tube, I was frantically rushing because there was a problem on the Elizabeth line, and I jumped on the tube, and anyone who knows me knows that I love to connect with people and talk to people, and I'm known as one of those really strange people on the tube that smile at people and want to talk to them. I jumped on the tube and said, can someone tell me, is this the tube train to Liverpool Street? And nobody answered. So I said, can someone please connect with me and communicate with me? Is this the train to Liverpool Street? And again, nobody answered. So then I looked directly at someone in their eye and said, can you help me, please? And then she nodded and answered. Now, when we think about the future of education, my worry is, as a mental health and wellbeing and consultant, is our humanistic ability to be able to connect with people. Now, let's be honest. Have you seen a change in the way people socially interact with others over the last 3 years? Yeah? Have you seen that? And what are your concerns around that? My concerns is that we're not comfortable connecting with others. I think we're still in the aftermath of the pandemic, and people often say, oh, we've got to stop talking about the pandemic. No, we haven't. We've got to think about the next 5 years in education and how the aftershock of the pandemic is going to continue to impact our future generation. We were told to socially distance, weren't we, in the pandemic? And what people interpreted that as is emotionally distance. When we think about our future generation, they are stuck in a position where they've missed emotional developmental milestones. They're struggling to socially interact. They spend more time in the digital world because that's where they feel more comfortable than they do in the real world. And what I want us to consider this morning is, how do we couple the balance between the digital world and the real world? What are the push and pull factors? What are the things that are pushing children and young people towards technology? And how do we pull them back into developing the ability to be ready for the future? I'm going to talk about how the jobs are going to change in the future, but I think we need to consider right now, how can we help young people feel comfortable in themselves? How can we help educators continue to do the incredible job that they do when they're being faced with so many demands? The education system has become an extension to the welfare system, hasn't it? When we think about all the needs that we're needing to support in education, we need to be expert social workers, we need to be doctors, we need to be counsellors, we need to be clinicians, and we need to be that listening ear service. It's no wonder that staff wellbeing is on the floor in the sense of why people leave in education. So I'm hoping that this isn't the future, but I do have a hope of immersing technology into education to benefit everybody within education. But I do not want to underestimate the value of face-to-face connection. Please take a screenshot of this, and if you like what I'm saying this morning, or if anything's landing with you, can you please tweet it out? I'm very much passionate about spreading the word, and I share lots of resources on my social media platforms. I really do believe that together we can create a better world in the future, and we can prepare our future generation with what Ty talked about this morning, that sense of hope, faith, that is led by effective leadership. But we also need to consider our leaders in that as well. When we look at these statistics, this is quite scary, isn't it? 3 in 5 head teachers are considering leaving the profession within the next 3 years. And I just want that to land with you for a moment. We also have 3 in 5 teachers, 2 in 5 head teachers. So let's consider also our early career teachers. 1/3 of early career teachers will leave the profession within the first 2 years. And I want us to also reflect on resilience at the moment. When we think about mental health and well-being, I think we need to consider resilience. Because what I'm seeing on the work that I'm doing in education, and I very much work on the ground in education, I never want to remove myself from that space. So I get clear clarity on what the challenges are, but also what the celebrations are as well, is I'm seeing that our younger generation of early career teachers do not seem to have as much resilience as teachers of the past who used to take home 3 hours of marking in books and were dragging their hands down to the ground. So what is it about our world that's impacting our ability to become resilient, to be able to overcome adversity? And whilst we're talking about AI, I want to consider how much time as human beings we spend on social media platforms. How many adults now are going onto social media and suddenly coming up with the conclusion that they have a neurodiversity and they're wanting to get diagnosed? Sometimes when we're in this sense of threat, which, let's be honest, we're bouncing from one crisis to another, aren't we? Often when that happens, we want to gain some sense of stability, something to place the blame on, to give that sense of acceptance. And also, many young people are going onto TikTok, Instagram, and they're looking through their worth through social media platforms. So I think we need to really think about ways that we can increase people's sense of self-awareness. How do they develop those intrinsic toolkits to be able to regulate, and how, as us, as human beings, as educators, can we help our future generation co-regulate? Because that's what they need. They need that sense of grounding. 70% of educators say that they find it near on impossible, from a recent Teacher Tapp survey, to be able to prioritise self-care in term time. So we're running on empty. How many educators are feeling exhausted right now? We've still got a couple of weeks left, haven't we? So I think the most important thing that you can do, and there are ways to do this through AI, is prioritise self-care. When was the last time you've truly felt like you put yourself first? Self-care isn't selfish, it's selfless. And if we're able to find ways through AI to be able to reduce our workload, is that such a bad thing? Think about the way that you do your planning at the moment. How much time are you spending researching topics? I use ChatGPT, but I use it in a really sensitive way. And I'm very mindful that when I ask it for content, I'm checking that content and I'm doing research around that. But I must say, it does make our jobs a lot easier, but we have to couple up the balance. It's not so much about the AI, it's how the humans use the AI. And Mark was excellent at sharing lots of tips and resources with us earlier, and lots of platforms to go and have a look at. But be mindful that the information that you're getting from those platforms may not always be relevant. We need to be very sensible around our use of artificial intelligence. We need to look at the benefits of using it. So what are the high impact things at the moment that are causing teachers to want to leave the profession? What is the high impact things at the moment that make young people feel like there's no hope and no help? These are some of the challenges for educators, and the big one that comes up is student behaviour and work-life balance. Those are the things that are coming up at the moment. Remember, behaviour is a symptom to an unmet need. It's not the root cause. How many children and focus groups do I work with, and the young people say to me, do you know what? I find it really hard when I walk past the staff room and I hear a teacher talking about my challenging behaviour. We need to really think about the language that we're using. Behaviour is a symptom, and it's about understanding what's going on underneath those thoughts, feelings, and physical sensations. AI can help with this. Has anyone heard of COOF? COOF is AI generated, and the founder of that is really investing time into thinking about ways that we can reach a wider audience of children. How many of you refer out to services such as CAMS, a child and adolescent mental health service? How many of you get your referrals accepted? I'm going to do that again. Can you put your hand up really high if you referred into CAMS in the last year for a young person? Can you keep your hand up if your referral's been accepted and that child's been seen within 12 weeks?
Initial assessment say
12 weeks. So there's two hands still, well, it's a half hand, isn't it? Because they've not started their sessions, but they've been assessed. So how much is our pool of children who need clinical support being left stranded at the moment? And I'm not blaming CAMS. I do a lot of work with CAMS and have done lots of dual therapy with them. My background is I'm a play therapist, so I've worked systemically in schools for many years. But they're under-resourced. They're underfunded, they're overwhelmed. So everything's being pushed back to the school. And this is where I think we can blend AI into education. Because in 5 years' time, we could have less school leaders. I know of many schools who are trying to find staff to fulfil positions across the whole school. So if we can find ways to work with AI, the genie's already out of the bottle, it's here. Our young people are going to know more about AI than we are. So we need to be savvy, we need to get in early and consider ways that we can level up our knowledge. Also looking at some of these concerns. I don't think 1 in 6 children in every class is right when we consider the mental health difficulties. I'm seeing more of 50% of children and young people in classes have a social and emotional mental health need. We're heading towards the winter again. That's when things are going to get harder, when bills are going to go up. When we think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs and those basic levels of needs, children can't learn when they're cold, tired and hungry. Those are the things that we need to think about. But I want to go back to what Ty said earlier, because that really resonated with me. Do not lose your hope. Go back to your why. Take a look at your ikigai. What's your purpose? Why did you get into teaching in the first place? My core purpose, if I'm being honest, was because it fit in with my children. But then I fell in love with being an educator. And my core purpose is to use what has been difficult for me as a child and turning it in to something really purposeful and promising and hopeful and faithful in leadership. So let's turn those negatives into a positive. Let's flip the narrative on that. These are some of the headlines. Take a look. This is some home learning for you, but not to take over your self-care time, okay? You promised me that comes first. Take a look at the State of the Nation 2022 report. What it highlights is there's an increase in anxiousness amongst both primary and secondary students. Also, take a look, if you're concerned about behaviour, take a look at the Children and Young People's Mental Health Coalition behaviour report. Again, that highlights some of the needs within education. Get creative. I'm dyslexic, but I love creating presentations, and I worked out how to do this. AI helped me. So have a look at your social media platforms to help you get prompts to create different things that you can do with your young people. If you ask a child or young person to talk about what they've learnt, if they were anything like me, they would struggle to recall that. Plus, having a stutter was really hard in school for me. As you can imagine, when I was asked to stand up and read out aloud, I couldn't even get the first word out. I actually can't quite believe I'm actually standing on the stage now doing this. But find creative ways to reach every child. Every child deserves the opportunity to flourish, no matter what their adversity. If you ask a child to create a presentation or use good notes to be able to recall information that they've learnt within your sessions, Learning is not just about sitting down and facing the front of the class on a hard, cold, uncomfortable plastic chair. It's about collaborating. It's developing that contextual well-being, spirit of partnership, of coming together. So also rethink your physical environments as well. But learning and creating a space to define well-being is all about that psychological safety, overall satisfaction. AI is great to use when you're assessing well-being. There's some fantastic tools out there. I'd recommend taking a look at Tranquility. They have a fantastic tool for measuring children and young people's mental health and well-being. Also, Wellbeing. They're here right now, and they have a fantastic offer, and I always love it when there's a freebie. Who loves a freebie? Love a freebie. They're offering 3 months to their Pro Wellbeing Toolkit. That means you get access to their AI assistant, Naralba, I think it's called. And she is an AI assistant that helps with supporting some ideas around mental health and well-being. And there's also the toolkit that's available for you for a lifetime as well. So go and have a chat with Steve at Wellbeing. I just want this to land with you for a moment. We have lived in a world without technology, but our children haven't. So we need to get more comfortable with it. We need to embrace all that it has to offer. But as I said before, don't undervalue the importance of face-to-face connection. That's what I love about feedback policy marking. When we think about those conversations that we have when children develop those emotional cues. And I want to highlight what Sam Altman, the creator of ChatGPT, has said. The jobs of the future, we have no idea of what they're going to look like. So we need to prepare our future generation for that unknown. When we think about what's a job that young people often aspire to be nowadays? Can anyone share with me? Influencer, yes. That's what they want to be. They want to be an influencer. But there's so many other jobs in AI that will be available in the future. So let's prepare our young people to consider the skills that they need to be work ready in the future. What also Sam Altman said was that ChatGPT is a horrible product. Why do you think he said that? It's because he does have his concerns of how it's going to grow and develop. But what is central to all of this is the fact that it's not so much about the AI, it's what the humans feed the AI. And that's what we need to consider. And when we think about the different types of AI, narrow and weak AI is the things that we're using already. How many of you use Alexa? Does she annoy the life out of you when you're having a conversation? Do you get paranoid? Do any of you watch Black Mirror? Does that freak you out as well? It has, the last series has for me. But we need to bring it back to reality. It's already out there. It's already happening. Our phones, how many of you use Facebook and suddenly an ad comes up for something that you've just spoke to someone about? It's already there, but it's how we manage this effectively in a safe and responsible manner. When we think about general AI, strong AI, that's the stuff in sci-fi films, a bit like the Terminator. And I think that's where the fear comes in for educators. So remember, as long as you're responsible and you consider the applications that could support an education sector. So looking at the opportunities for personalised learning. Remember, every learner learns at a different pace and they have different learning styles. Considering student well-being, I think there's a great opportunity for AI-assisted apps. But again, we need to have those purposeful roadmaps and referral systems so that those young people have that human-to-human connection. So they can aid, but they can't be the be-all and end-all to supporting mental health and well-being. And if we consider some of those administrative tasks, it could reduce workload. So exploring what are the things in your school or setting that are causing stress for teachers and educators. Undertake a SWOT analysis, looking at the strengths, weaknesses and opportunities and threats for student well-being and staff well-being. You will get access to all of these slides. They'll be sent to you after the presentation, but here are just some apps that you can take a look at in your own time. Remember, have a look at them, explore them before you integrate them into your school setting. There's lots of apps out there. Grammarly is one that I absolutely love, helps me with my dyslexia. And then when we think about ChatGPT and other generative AI technologies, remember that it's how the ChatGPT is used. So it's how we use it effectively. Remember, it can generate those writing prompts and questions, but go back and do your research. Don't just rely on what ChatGPT has given you through your prompts is going to be helpful, but also explore ways that you can create other prompts as well. This is the worry for the future as well. But then also, let's have a look at how much time report writing takes right now. And remember the potential benefits versus the potential risks. Ensure that there's equality and access, and consider data protection. As I said, all of these slides will be in your slide pack. But let's consider this. Can AI really make a difference with all of this? And I think it can if we blend that approach around developing those human-first approaches, those whole people's approaches, to consider how we support AI. I hope that's been helpful for you. Thank you so much. And if you'd like further conversations, I'll be sharing a QR code with you and you can get in touch with me. Thank you so much.